But yeah, that's studs, wide receiver studs for the week. Let's talk about quarterbacks. Very, very interesting week. We talked about the Marvin Harrison game where he just looked awesome, Marvin Harrison Jr., but of course, Kyler Murray being the one throwing him the ball. Kyler Murray, someone I was targeting heavily between him and Jaden Daniels all off season, and because I felt Kyler was going to get back to form. Kyler looked like old Kyler Murray, rookie season Kyler Murray, even better. He looked so much more poised. He looked relaxed. He as soon as the play broke down, he was taking off for 10 yards. He looked awesome. So Kyler Murray, 30 points on the week. Unfortunately, in a loss for Romo. So Romo's got some issues there, but he definitely has a good quarterback at his play. What do you guys think of Kyler's performance? You think he's kind of matured a little bit now that he's a veteran in the league, and you'd see that production being sustained across the season?
I mean, as long as he can stay healthy, being a smaller guy, there's so many small Kyler memes that go around Twitter whenever he plays that I just can't get enough of. But being a slender guy, a smaller guy, we've seen in years previous, his production does start to wane after about week 10. It does kind of drop off once the fantasy playoffs hit. And so it is kind of tough to own him as a fantasy manager. But if he can stay healthy, then I don't see why he can't be a top 3 QB in fantasy, really.
Yeah, I'm still kind of on the fence about him, but I mean, he definitely looked good in this game.
What has you on the fence?
Just because I've just never really fully believed in him either. I think he's I kind of think he's too small. He looks small out there. I've made fun of his run. He looks like a toddler when he runs full speed. But he's one of those guys who will definitely have great games against some of the worst defenses. But like the Rams defense this year, I don't know. I think they kind of maybe just threw in the towel a little bit in that game. They got down pretty big early. So, but I hope he keeps it up. I certainly do because I got Harrison Jr. So, yeah, it's hard to say. It's just a couple games so far. So I didn't think he looked particularly great against the Bills last week, but definitely much better this week.
But Bills on the road, I mean, that's a tough matchup. Bills defense is always pretty good, and it's tough to win Buffalo, right? Especially when you're playing against Josh Allen, Josh Allen's always going to shine in those type of games. So I think Kyler had a nice bounce back. Again, it was against a very suspect Rams defense, so we'll see what the next few weeks looks like, and when he goes up against Green Bay and San Francisco. So
yeah, he hasn't even really started throwing to McBride all that much. He's still got weapons he hasn't really fully utilized.
Yep. Other quarterbacks just underneath him for the week. Derek Carr, right? We talked about the Saints putting up numbers. Derek Carr over the season is the number 1 quarterback in NFL and in most fantasy leagues, right? So kudos to you, Derek Carr. Awesome work. You guys, again, I don't know how sustainable it is. Just lost tight end, but I mean, we talk about Shaheed right now, and Olave really hasn't even gotten going that much yet. So if Olave starts to get going and Shaheed's, this huge deep weapon, and then Kamara's kind of playing at this MVP level like he has done in the past, I mean, Derek Carr is primed to have an excellent season, and he's still on our waivers. Do you think he's going to be a big waiver target after this week?
I think it depends on the matchup. You said he had a tough couple games coming up here. He's got Dallas, who, I know.
He's got Philly, Atlanta, KC.
Yeah, he just played Dallas, Philly, Atlanta, KC, which Atlanta's still not sure about, but Philly and KC could potentially be tough matchups. I know we saw Philly's defense get shredded at the end there, but, they held up for, 96% of that game. It's hard to say. I don't know. I still am unsure. This is why I kind of took Mahomes in the 4th round when I did, just because I didn't want to play this QB streaming game, because I really feel a lot of it's matchup dependent. If he's home in the Dome, I would trust him a lot more than if he's, out on the road in Kansas City, even if it isn't, ice cold. So yeah, I think he's still just going to be a matchup play. He's had a good start to the year. It surprised some people, but now that there's film coming out on how they're going to run their offense, I think defensive coordinators are going to adjust. And then he'll be better than he was in the past, but he'll kind of drop down and maybe be a bottom QB1 in our league, maybe between 8 and 14 week to week, kind of vacillating with like Jared Goff. He'll be in that kind of range, I would put him.
For me, I think it depends on if they can keep him clean, because it seems like he's just not getting touched. Even Micah Parsons came out and said, like, I forget what terminology he used, but he just made it sound like he was completely confused by their protection and like just couldn't get to him. I don't know if he's been sacked yet or not, but seems like he's not really under a lot of pressure. Like I said, they're using a lot of motion and play action and stuff. So I think they've probably caught teams off guard so far, and like Cody said, there will probably be some adjustments over the season. And if they can, I think with Derek Carr, when he starts getting hit, that's when he definitely gets off of his game. So if he's not getting touched back there, he'll play great, and we've seen it before, but I don't know if they can keep it up all year.
All right, let's do this. Derek Carr or Jared Goff?
In terms of what, this week or?
I say going forward. Yeah, you pick one or the other. Derek Carr, Jared Goff.
I would still go Goff.
Oh, okay. Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield.
I would go Carr in this one.
Flip a coin.
Coin.
Yeah, you got to flip it, Tim. Tell us how it landed.
You got to land it.
I don't have a coin, but it's tails. All right, I'll say Baker Mayfield.
Oh, okay. Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers?
For me, so far, I think I'd have to say Carr just based on what I've seen so far. Not that Aaron Rodgers was better this week, but still, I don't know. He's old.
I would lean Carr just because of Rodgers' age, and yeah.
All right, and remember, this is going forward. Here's the last one: Derek Carr or Sam Darnold for the rest of the season.
I'll still take Carr. Yeah, I mean, we don't know about Jefferson, that injury. Addison's already missed a little bit of time. I think Darnold's ecosystem's a little more fragile, so I'll go with Carr.
Yeah, I'd go Carr. I mean, Darnold has been good so far too, but most of his points this week were off of, how far did he throw that ball to Jefferson? 20 yards, 25 yards. Jefferson.
It actually did go pretty deep.
No, it was about
40.
It was about 40, 45 yards.
Okay, I thought it was. Okay.
No, because he was in his own end zone, chucked it, and he cut it right before the 50, so almost 50 yards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it was decent.
But still, if Jefferson's out though, that's for any amount of time. That's
you lose that whole play. Yeah.
Still go Carr. I mean, how do you two feel about Carr versus Geno Smith?
I think Geno.
No.
Yeah, I think Geno.
I would.
Rest of the season, I think Geno. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because of he's played with the same guys for a couple years now, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Cohesiveness there. And actually, Geno's been number 4 quarterback on the week, right? He had a big week. Again, those 11 catches for JSN, 14 for DK. So obviously Geno was going to end up there with 21 points on the week. So good for him. Jalen Hurts, surprising number. And again, I think this is more because of the rushing line. He only had 183 yards, but 13 carries for 85 yards and a TD, right?
Push. I mean, he got pushed into the end zone when Barkley couldn't finish it. So there's 6 points for you right there.
But that's what, the value that Jalen's going to bring when it comes to fantasy football context. That opportunity is always there for him, So while not great passing numbers, right? 23 for 30 out of 30, not bad. I mean, okay, but 183 yards, you expect to be over 200. But yeah, that rushing makes a big difference. Surprising 5
AJ Brown was out, so that's the difference maker in the past game.
A huge difference maker.
But Devontae Smith played great though. He caught some great balls in that game.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have to run after the catch that AJ Brown has to kind of extend those yards.
That's a solid point. Yeah, I could agree there. The other quarterbacks that were in the top 10, Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones. Again, Daniel Jones.
Jeez, Daniel Jones made it. I'm surprised by that one.
Daniel,
I really
well,
am.
I mean, again, it's the 5 carries, 32 yards, but it's got those 2 touchdowns that he threw.
3 points.
Washington.
Yeah, Washington. I mean,
yeah,
so,
even still, I'm not.
The gift that
I thought it was
giving.
just
it was a very, when your completion percentage is that high, when you're throwing the ball, almost 30 times a game, and see he completed 16 passes. Who do you think caught all 16 of those passes?
I mean, 12 of them went to Neighbors, so
Yeah. No, 18 went to Neighbors, 18 targets.
Wait, I
no,
think
but
he
how
was
many
18.
catches? He had 16 completed for 28.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 18 for 28, and Neighbors caught 10 of them?
Yeah.
Or,
Oh, he caught 10 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
but the key is he didn't turn the ball over. I mean, that's
key. 2
like
touchdowns.
Washington doesn't force the turnovers, but like that's always his issue. Is he's like I pointed out in our chat earlier this week, he has like as many turnovers as touchdowns in his career, I think, or maybe it's like only a difference of maybe 10. So it's he's a turnover machine.
Yeah.
Right after that, we got Sam Darnold and Lamar Jackson. Sam
Mm-hmm.
Darnold, we talked about Jefferson having the big number. Lamar Jackson, a little surprising, only 15 points on the week, even with 247 yards and 1 touchdown. 5 for carries for 45 yards. He definitely force feeding the ball to Zay Flowers now. It was nice to see Andrews back in the mix and things kind of come back to normal in that space. But Lamar just doesn't look comfortable. What do you guys think? You think there's something going on there? You think a lot of the pressure of the MVP season last year, trying to outperform? What's kind of going on with Baltimore right now?
I think their offensive line isn't as good. I mean, I think that's the main issue so far. It's not as good as it's been in years past. I don't really remember if it's because of injuries or just turnover, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest issue for him. But he's been comfortable in the past throwing to Mark Andrews, so I hope that he, we'll find that again. But yeah, I think it's just offensive line is a pretty big deal, especially for quarterbacks like him. He needs a little bit more time to throw and diagnose what's going on or decide to take off and run. So, but very surprising that they lost to the Raiders. So, maybe Angel's not surprised, but I think everyone else is. So.
Oh, Angel is
happy.
happy.
I don't know if I wouldn't say he looks uncomfortable, but like Tim mentioned, the offensive line has some new pieces, and so they are still kind of working on that chemistry. Against the Chiefs, he was running around quite a bit, and it wasn't like running for his life. It seemed like some of that he looked like old Lamar running in that way, and it seems like if that were to happen, it would bring the defense up and then open up some of those passes over the top, but those haven't really been there for him. A lot of it's to Zay Flowers over the middle, a little bit to Andrews as well. They're running a lot more 2 tight end sets with Likely and Andrews. So maybe adjusting to that new kind of formation. They didn't really run 2 tight ends all that often previously. So maybe it is a bit of an adjustment to the offensive line and using 2 tight ends a little more. But I still think he looks like old Lamar. I wouldn't say he's all that uncomfortable out there.
I just thought he didn't he could have taken the ball for a couple more runs, and that was something that people kind of bashed him for in that AFC Championship game against the Chiefs last year. He had so much more room to run, and he didn't take the opportunity. Last week against the Chiefs, he did that. This week against the Raiders, kind of reverted back to that, trying to force the ball rather than take that open 10 yards that was given to him. So it was just kind of weird to see that. A quarterback who rounded at the top 10, shocker at 10. Tim, I'll let you guess who it is if you don't know already. One of your favorite quarterbacks, and I'm being sarcasm is bleeding through me.
One of my favorite quarterbacks. Oh God, it's not Malik Willis, is it?
No, it is not. No, if it was Malik Willis, I would have been this is directly to you as a top 10. It's someone
to you and probably most women out there.
Yeah, you and most women have an affinity for this quarterback.
Oh boy, Deshaun Watson.
Sarcastic.
Deshaun Watson rounds out our top 10 for the week.
Well, he still tried to give the game away at the end, but luckily they still won it.
Yeah, it was definitely he rushed in for a touchdown. 20 yards, but only 186. He didn't turn the ball over. So that's where that rushing touchdown made a big difference on this day. So.
But he threw an incompletion inexplicably when they needed to run the clock out at the end. Like instead
Yes,
of taking
he
a
did.
sack, he threw
Should
the
have taken
ball
the
away.
sack.
So
Yeah.
it's just his football IQ is doesn't
Not
seem
there.
to be there anymore. But good for him.
And let's close out this week with the tight ends. Not a lot to read home about. Only a couple big tight end performances. George Kittle, Trey McBride, Hunter Henry. Surprisingly, Hunter Henry's still on waivers. But actually, Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers has kind of been the big surprise tight end on the season, right? Usually rookie tight ends don't play so well. He was number 4 tight end on the week. But over 2 weeks, Brock Bowers has been inside the top 5, and he's looked really, really good. What do you guys think of Brock Bowers so far? You think that's sustainable for him and the Raiders?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's all that surprising. He was kind of like the Marvin Harrison Jr. of tight end prospects coming out. If you watch him at Georgia, he looked like he was playing against high school kids out there. He's just a beast. So having, first overall tight end go in the draft. You're right. Rookie tight ends mostly don't do too much, but we saw Sam Laporta last year in an offense that ended up being good, become the tight end number 1 in our league. So
But
I don't think Bowers will get to that level. Yeah. But he is with, Minshew, who has Devontae Adams, and then who else? Like he could be that volume monster there. He clearly has the talent. So I can see him continue to get targets and grow in this offense and get even more and more, and end up as maybe not a top 3 tight end, but I can see him end up somewhere between 4 and 8 in our league there.
Yeah, he's definitely a talented guy. I mean, I watch a lot of Georgia football, and I mean, him and McConkey were a great tandem for them last year.
Yeah.
So. He may be what we've been told Kyle Pitts is for all these years. Maybe Brock Bowers actually is that. So, I mean, but yeah, they got Devontae, they got Jacoby Myers, who was pretty good last year, but he doesn't seem to be nearly as involved this year. So.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be, a good safety blanket for Minshew. Doesn't have the biggest arm really anyway. He's more of a kind of short intermediate passer. So
Uncle Rico, little sidearm.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, Angel's got him too. So at least one of his
Angel in every league I know has Bowers in every league.
Yeah. Hey, he's a Raiders fan, and he took a couple Raiders in our league. Luckily, one of them at least so far has worked out. So.
Or did he just do his research and he knew it was coming this whole time?
That's possible. Yeah.
100% possible. 100%. Tight ends outside of those 4 or 5, nothing to read home about. The rest of those performances are just not good, pretty bad. Yeah. But
most of the tight end position this year has been like that.
Yeah, it's been bad. So we'll kind of stay away from there.
Just hoping and praying for a touchdown.
At least this year there were multiple double digits. Last week it was Isaiah Likely, I think, had 20. One guy had 10, and I think everything else was single digit. Yeah. So
this had 5 guys in double digits this week. So better.
There we go.
Better. There we go. Not bad. Quarterback performances on the week that were not so great. Malik Willis. I mean, hard on Malik because he just came in for the week. But overall, they did win the game. But Malik Willis, no one really started him. But Cody, you and I, our quarterbacks outside the top 15, Patrick Mahomes and Jaden Daniels, both having kind of rough weeks. Jaden Daniels, I watched all of that Washington game. 3 times when they were inside the 5-yard line, the offensive line had a false start penalty. So remove set him back, remove that whole opportunity for the play act or the option read. It got really annoying there. So I felt like he got robbed out of some points there, and you could tell he's frustrated with the team. At home, that's how you know Washington's not a great team when they're at home making those mistakes over and over again. That's bad. If you're on the road, that's one thing, but at home, you should not be having a false start. 3 of them inside the 5-yard line, the way that happened. So that was kind of rough. But what's your take on Patrick Mahomes' rough week? You think it was just a byproduct of Cincinnati, keying in on him well, or just kind of a slow start?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a combination of the slow start because he does have a couple new weapons out there. I mean, Xavier Worthy sure is fast, but he is still new to playing with him and playing in the system. Kelsey isn't the same guy that Kelsey used to be, especially early on in the regular season. He might not take it seriously. He's saving himself for the playoffs, and he kind of even alluded to that last year. But the Bengals do play him tough. He also had to play the Ravens in week 1, which is another tough defense. So I've got to kind of chalk it up to that. He did, throw another interception that happened to be called back due to a referee flag that ended up on the field. And
He should have 3
like
picks,
the guy
right?
got there
He
a
should have
little
been
early,
yeah.
but yeah, that would have been his third one. So his fantasy
We
total
threw-
is a little inflated here.
He threw another one right after that, I think. Anyway, or a couple plays later. That the one-handed.
Did he?
Yeah, that was.
But that was earlier in the game. The one I'm talking about was in the fourth quarter, I believe.
Was
right?
it the fourth quarter? Was right before during that play
during that drive, during the game-winning drive.
He should have 3
He had 2
in the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
the
should have
pass
had a third
interference call that was that an
Yes,
interception?
yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot that was even
because I
picked on
believe
that.
it tipped up. I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. So anyways, he could have had less points here. So it's not what I was expecting out of him when I drafted him. I definitely was expecting for him to kind of put up 18 plus points, and he hasn't even reached that total in the first 2 games. But I am happy that I've gotten my 2 wins with him underperforming, gotten those out of the way against strong defenses for him. So I'm hoping it gets better, but watching these first 2 weeks and knowing the Chargers defense has improved, that division's not going to be as easy as it was. The Raiders played them tough last year and even beat them without an offensive touchdown on like Christmas Eve. So I'm kind of conflicted on how to feel about him. It hasn't been a great start, but I'm hoping he really turns it around and comes to life here.
Next 3 weeks at Atlanta, at Chargers, and then at home against New Orleans. So, those next 2 weeks could be a good challenge for Mahomes to see what he can do. I haven't been impressed with the team, and now obviously the loss of their number 1 running back, so they're going to be forced to have to kind of throw the ball around the yard. So we'll see if he can kind of find his groove. But these next 2 weeks are really going to show what they're made of on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that was disappointing, at least to me personally, but looking at these QB totals here from last week, how can you not be super disappointed in Caleb Williams ending up with 1 point? Even though Houston's defense is great, you still got to point to that. Did Angel actually start him this week, or was he on his bench? Because I know Angel drafted him early.
Angel started Baker Mayfield. Angel pivoted very quickly.
But he still has him, yeah. But it didn't really affect him too much. Kamara kind of would have balanced it out anyway. But
yeah. But the other big, probably disappointing performance is Anthony Richardson was against the Packers, right? So Rob put a lot of draft capital in Anthony Richardson, only 7 points. The Packers really stifled him. They didn't let him do what he does, getting out of the pocket. They kept him in the pocket, kind of forced him to throw the ball against them when he's not an accurate QB. So they made him look bad in that. Yep. They ball hawked him really, really well. And I thought the Colts would lean on Jonathan Taylor more, especially in such a close game. Tim, and I know that annoyed the heck out of you. So what I'm very curious on what the Colts are doing overall. Like, why are you not protecting your young guy?
It's a great question. I don't know. I think he threw the ball 34 times, or I forget the final tally, but
34.
Jonathan Taylor had 12 carries, and he averaged more yards per carry. He averaged more yards per carry than Richardson averaged yards per attempt. So apparently Taylor didn't even play at all in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. I don't know what the strategy is there, but that's not when you're not giving the ball to your running back who's averaging 8 yards carry, you're not a good coach. Like, I don't know if he's trying to get fired. I don't know. It's pretty mind-boggling, especially when you got a quarterback who's inaccurate. Like, the Packers had the right game plan. They ran the ball 53 times.
Oh yeah, Josh Jacobs force feed that
should have been the Colts game plan too. Because
I think Jacobs had 20 carries before the first half was over.
Yeah, kudos to that's why Matt LaFleur is one of the best coaches in the league, in my opinion, because he knew what he had in his quarterback, and he said, we're not going to put the game on him. We're going to run the ball over and over again. We're going to be Georgia Tech, and we're going to run the ball 50 times. And for the Colts not to do the same thing against the Packers' weakness is run defense, clearly, because Taylor averaged 8 yards a carry. So there's no logic there at all. I don't get it.
I was happy. I was like,
of course,
I called the Packers winning at home. Everyone doubted me. I was like, I don't know what. I know Malik Willis is not, an elite QB by any stretch. He's not even playing a decent QB, but he did enough to win. And as you said, Tim, they didn't put him in position to lose the game, right? They said, Josh Jacobs, you're going to get the ball 35 times today, and don't cough it up, which he did one time, which that kind of hurt me on. But he does still run for 150 plus yards on the day. So awesome outing for Josh Jacobs. So it was pretty cool.
That's that was a weird game, but I mean Willis did his job. He was pretty efficient when he had to throw the ball too. I think he only had 2 incompletions, but that's probably because I don't know if the Colts were stacking 11 in the box, but they should have been all game if they weren't. So
yeah, very, very strange. Very strange. Running back performances that weren't so good, right? Moving off the quarterbacks, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne. I mean, not great performance. I mean, so. But I would say as far as double digits. Najee Harris only 6 points in the game. That was a very, very close game against Denver. Do you guys chalk that up more to the Denver defense, or Pittsburgh just kind of playing really, really conservative ball with Justin Fields in the backfield?
They're playing conservative, that's for sure. But it's good. They have a good defense, so and Fields isn't turning the ball over, but they're not really getting in the red zone too much, or anywhere near the goal line for the most part these first couple weeks. So that's where if Najee's not getting touchdowns, then he's he gets a good amount of carries, but it's just not looking like a really great offense so far. But against Denver, I don't think their defense is particularly great, but their offense is definitely not good either. So Pittsburgh probably went in there just knowing that they didn't need to score a ton of points to win the game. So
Cody, you think Najee is a candidate for a very cautionary tale, or are you going to still write him out there and hoping that production will increase?
I mean, he's splitting time with Jaylen Warren, who, also is a running back who looks like he could be a number 1 starter in that offense. They like Tim said, they're playing conservatively. They're just looking for guys to kind of help them rely on their defense to win games, put them in good positions to get some easy touchdowns or maybe some field goals, and then keep the game low scoring. So I think Harris, it would be a red flag for me, especially if there was no Warren in the backfield along with him and he was getting all the volume. He would be a guy that I would feel better about. But Denver defense that could get run on because their pass defense is so good, and he didn't exploit it here. So I would have a little cautionary flag next to his name if I was the Najee Harris owner in the league.
No, for sure. Three running backs that are, for me, red alert after this week's performances: DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Tajay Spears. I mean, when I saw those outputs, 3 points each for the 3 of them, I was like, oh boy. And the Zamir White goes back. Luckily, Angel threw him on the bench. I think Angel's learned real quickly. Zamir White
at this point, he's watching the games. You would hope so.
Yeah. But DeAndre Swift, I mean, my goodness, Chicago put so much threw a big bag of money at him, and he's just been abysmal. Same with Tajay Spears, right? I mean, Tennessee really.
Well, Tajay, he's a rookie. They didn't throw money at him, or not a rookie, but second year.
He's not.
Guy.
No. Tajay's second year guy, but he was supposed to be number 1 back with Pollard, but Pollard is definitely the number 1 back on that team right now, and he just doesn't look good. So, what would you guys, if you guys were the managers, is it Dropsville for those 3?
Well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned, because those were 2 of the names I had written down here as my duds for the running back position. I had Swift and I had Jamir White, as Angel likes to call him, Zamir White. And they were guys that, high draft capital was spent. I think one was a 5th-round pick, or maybe both of them were 5th-round picks, or maybe one in the 4th, one in the 5th. And in Turkey Bowl, running backs do go a little bit higher. But if your 4th-round pick is kind of, you're having these questions this early when it's supposed to be a volume play, and he's not really getting the volume. You're losing work to Madison in the backfield for Zamir White. These are red flags that kind of stick out to me. And they were kind of my 2 biggest duds on the week. So I wouldn't drop them. You spend a lot of draft capital on them. They still too early in the year to be able to fully have a read on what's going to happen here. Without an injury, I wouldn't drop either guy if you can hold on to them. But it definitely is kind of the same thing with Harris. A red flag to monitor moving forward.
Yeah, it's I think with Zamir White, I think Madison outsnapped him this week.
Yeah.
So that's not great. And then DeAndre Swift, I mean, he looked good at times for Philly, but Philly's had a great offensive line, and Chicago not so much. I think that's also part of their problem. And Caleb Williams is not playing very well, and he just looks out of sync. But the Texans do have a good run defense, so I wasn't surprised that he had a bad game. But I don't even know. Did he even get double-digit yards? I think he had single-digit yards against the Texans, so not good for Swift. And then I think Spears is injured. I don't know what kind of injury he's got. I didn't see.
Yeah, I would put Spears kind of in still another tier 2 below those other 2 names, just because I think even in our league he was like a 10th, 11th, 12th round pick. He was splitting time, and Pollard was expected to be the 1A, with Spears being the 1B. And when you look at Swift, he was the guy they threw money at, expected to lead the backfield. Zamir White took the volume from Jacobs last year, and he was getting 22 plus carries the last 4 or 5 games of the year last year, and people kind of thought that's what would happen this year. So I would put, Spears in another category below that. But in terms of cost, how you feel about him compared to where your expectations were. But I mean, out of these 3 guys we've kind of highlighted, taking Spears out of it, between Harris, Swift, and Zamir White, how would you guys rank them going forwards in terms of how good you'd feel owning them?
I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm the one who does have Harris, but I think he's best out of the 3 just because he's probably on the best team and he's still involved.
Highest floor, from my opinion, he's the highest floor of those 3, so I would stick with Harris.
Yeah, I mean, he's the most likely to be still involved in most games because of the defense. They're more likely to not be getting blown out or anything like
close,
that. Yeah. But yeah, it's not great. I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence in him at this point, but I'd rather have him than White or Swift for sure. Zamir White, oddly enough, he's kind of like so far the Alexander Madison of last year.
Yeah,
Madison was the guy taking over for
Minnesota. Madison.
He took over for Dalvin Cook, and that's kind of what I thought would happen with him. That he looked pretty good in his fill-in starts, and thought he'd be a good running back last year, but he was a dud. And so far White's probably worse, but it's only 2 games in, so who knows?
Small sample size.
Yeah. I don't know how to rank the other. Yeah, Swift and White are kind of. I don't know how to rank
another
them.
Point flip for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Alexander Madison or DeAndre Swift?
I would still go Swift.
Boy, I can't fathom having Alexander Madison again. So it's looking rough for Swift. I mean, at least the Raiders have a win now, a good win, and maybe a competent offense. The Chicago offense just looks really out of sync so far. Maybe it'll get better as the year goes on, but I think Swift's going to find it tough if they can't get their passing game going. So
or if they can't get help in that O-line.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a slight lean to Madison, but I don't I don't like it.
He doesn't like it at all.
Yeah.
No, it's rough sledding there. Alexander Anderson rostered in our league, by the way. You know by who?
Ricky.
Ricky. Look at that. Look at that. That's a dart throw if I ever saw one. Go, Ricky. Let's close this out with the wide receivers who are kind of on red alert mode for me. And this is me looking at so many wide receivers that are rostered in our league that put up goose eggs this week. And let's not talk about ones that are injured, like Adrian Brown, Puka, Teague, Nagabos. These are wide receivers that are rostered and played this week. Christian Kirk, Christian Watson, Keon Coleman, DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, baby. Those four. For me, Keon Coleman, I'll see better days. D-Hop, better days are ahead. Those two, I definitely have faith. Even Christian Watson when Jordan Love's come back. Christian Kirk for me is the one that's like, I'm out on Christian Kirk. What do you guys' take on those four wide receivers?
He's being dropped. Yeah, I'm not shy to say it. I'm dumping him. I've seen enough. I kind of don't want really any part of the Jacksonville offense right now. It looks ugly, and I don't really know why, but yeah. So Christian Kirk definitely dumping him.
I mean, with Malik Willis, you can't really. Christian Kirk. Sorry, I thought you were going Christian Watson. Yeah.
Oh well.
No, Watson's not dusty because when Love comes back, Watson will be fine playing.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just there's so many different guys there, like Jaden Reed and Dobbs will have his occasional big games. So Christian Watson's going to be hit or miss on a week-to-week basis, but I don't think you've seen enough yet. With only one start with Jordan Love, you can't give up on him yet. But Christian Kirk's only gotten, I think, 4 targets in 2 games or something like that. And it's just. I know he had some kind of injury during training camp, but yeah, the Jacksonville
the hamstring again. It seems to always be the hamstring.
I think it was calf
or the ankle. Oh,
calf, something like that. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, the Jacksonville offense is also looking pretty terrible to start the year. So
yeah,
but I agree. Keon Coleman will probably have. I think the game
rookie receiver.
Yeah, and Buffalo didn't really need to throw it a lot. The game script was not there. They'll have games where they have to pass more probably. So, but probably it'd be hit or miss with him too, I'm sure. But definitely.
I mean, it would be nice though in a game where you are up to see them kind of feed him some targets and see what he's capable of. Even if he does drop one or bobble one, it's not going to cost you when you're up 3 scores. So it would have been nice to see them kind of design some targets and run those plays for him in a game where you seem to have it under control to see if you can trust him in tighter instances.
Yeah. What about you, Manny?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm going to hold on to Keon. I'm going to hold on to D-Hop and Christian Watson. I guess Christian Watson or Alan Lazard. I'm gonna say Christian Watson. Joshua Palmer. Who you guys keeping?
Watson.
There you go. So
I mean, is Malik Willis throwing him the ball? Because then I'll take Palmer. But I mean, otherwise, the reason Watson has 0 here is because Love wasn't playing. So I think once Love comes back, keep Watson on your bench. When Love comes back, that's where you throw him back in the starting lineup.
100%, and he might be back by week 4. So you got one more week of Malik Willis, and then all is right in the Green Bay Packers world.
D-Hop, D-Hop's a good name, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like Ridley's the number 1 there. He's getting up there in age, and he's getting injured a little bit more frequently, it seems. So, I have a lot of respect for him. He's had some great years, but I don't know if this will be one of them, especially with Will Levis back there doing Will Levis things. So
yeah, a lot of variability back there. So yeah, I'm with you. Calvin Ridley's number 1. It's the only wide receiver I want to keep on that roster, and that's it, right? Typically, the way Levis is playing, they're going to be negative game scripts. So who knows if he'll be quarterbacking after week 4? So we'll see.
Yeah. And Ridley is on the trade block, guys. Just so you know, throw Manny a trade.
Ridley is on the trade block. That's right.
I even told him. I responded. I was like, we should take this since you're offering it because it's you. But
based on recent history,
Yeah, and
Hey, yeah.
maybe it could still turn out that way. Maybe I just, made the biggest mistake of the year, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. It's all right. I understand why, Tim. It was, but I wanted to make a fair offer, and I felt like that
Yeah,
was
it wasn't ridiculous by any means. So, especially at the time, after a 0-point game from Harrison, but yeah,
Trying to catch you overreacting and panicking.
yeah.
a little bit, so let's talk about injuries, guys. I mean, this week was again riddled. Week 1, we saw a handful of injuries that were pretty devastating, but this week it seems like it got amplified times 4, right? At the quarterback, Thursday night, we saw Tua just get knocked up again, right? Instead of sliding and like he's been working on and practicing to protect himself, he kind of like lunged forward right into DeMar Hamlin's legs and kind of knocked himself out.
So into his arm, yeah, did it to himself.
He got the fencer hands, the claw hands, as they call them. So he was out for a little bit, but he came to, walked off the field. But just news came across today, he's on IR, so he'll be on the IR for at least 4 weeks minimum. So I hope that the Dolphins figure out what they're going to do in the meantime. We wish him the best, and that's unfortunate. You don't like to see guys do that. There's a whole lot of discussion that could be had about his future, but, Dolphins now have to move forward. Do you think Mike McDaniel can move forward with Skylar Thompson, or is they going to have to make a move with a different QB, you think?
It depends on if Tua's coming back. If you hear from Tua that, he gets cleared by his team of doctors and he wants to come back, then, I don't think you make a move to go get someone else. If it's going to be 4 to 5 weeks, you kind of stick it out with the guy who's been in your building for 2+ years at this point. If Tua's going to be out for the year, I don't think you can trust Skylar, and this is a team with playoff aspirations. You kind of do have to go try and trade for somebody or bring someone in, who's a little more ready and a little more able to throw the ball around than Skylar is.
I think so far I saw they signed Tyler Huntley off the Ravens practice squad. And he's had some starts. I don't remember if he started any games last year, maybe the year before, but he's looked pretty decent.
I think he started in the playoffs even for them 2 years ago, maybe.
May have, yeah. But I mean, from what I remember, he looked pretty decent. He's a scrambling quarterback too, so it'd be interesting to see. I mean, Skylar Thompson has never really looked very good to me when he's been in the game. So I don't know. He's got good receivers to throw to, but it'll be interesting to see if they get Huntley up to speed, if he ends up starting a couple weeks from now, or what happens there. But definitely a lot worse either way without Tua in there. I mean, he was starting to play really well, had a great year last year, so feel bad for him. I wish he just slid, but just a tough thing to see, with him out cold on the field again. I can't remember seeing the same player out cold on the field twice in their career before. I'm sure it's happened, but not that I can remember. So
yeah. So tough sledding there. Well, obviously it's going to affect all the offensive production for Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Achan's going to get more volume, but teams, if Skylar is starting, they're going to probably stack the box, and they'll have to be creative in how they get Achan the ball. So it'll be interesting what they do going forward. Mike McDaniel's a smart guy, so I think he'll have some things schemed up, but you're definitely not expecting the output that you were when Tua was in the backfield. That's for sure. At least for the minimum for the next 4 weeks. So, running backs, Tyjae Spears day-to-day with an ankle injury. Marshawn Lloyd and the ankle injury. Marshawn Lloyd was injured in the offseason or in the preseason with the hamstring injury. So, unfortunate to see that. I was expecting big things out of him to back up Josh Jacobs in the Green Bay backfield. So that stinks. Tank Bigsby took a shoulder injury, left the game with a shoulder injury. So we'll see. The status is still unknown there. The biggest running back loss of the week, Isaiah Pacheco, broken fibula or fibula, I forget what it is, fibula, and stuck on IR, and that's going to be a 7 to 8 week rehab, probably recovery. So that's unfortunate for the Chiefs. I mean, not unfortunate for Raiders and Chargers and fans, but and Denver fans. But the Chiefs are going to really have to rely on Patrick Mahomes to get the ball out. Yeah, Mahomes is going to be throwing the ball probably 10 more times a game. Do you trust anyone else out of the backfield, Samaje Perine or Steele, out of that backfield to even get remotely close to that Pacheco production.
No, I don't think so. I think it'll just be more of a timeshare. You'll have Steele kind of doing the first and second down duties, and then P. Ryan coming in a lot more often for those 3rd down and 2-minute. I mean, that's kind of why he was brought in for those 3rd down plays. He's good at pass protecting. He was used in Cincinnati that way, and great catching the ball in the backfield. And then 2-minute drills, he's kind of going to do the same thing. So it's going to depend. If you're in a PPR league, you may want to lean more towards P. Ryan. If you're more in a standard league like we are, you're going to lean towards Steele and hope for the goal line touchdowns that he can end up getting you. So I think it'll be that, plus maybe Mahomes rushing a little bit more as well.
Yeah, it seems like it'll be a committee for sure. I mean, and I don't know. They got Edwards-Helaire, who's on short-term IR, I think, and I don't know. That it's not injury related, so don't really know what's going on with him, when they might get him back, if at all, this year. If he does come back, then he could end up being the best option out of the 3. They just signed Kareem Hunt to their practice squad, so who knows? He kind of looked washed the last couple of years a little bit, but he's at least familiar with the offense. So who knows if it turns into a 3-man committee, but. Yeah, I wouldn't. There's no one that I would say is just an automatic, like, I got to get this guy and start him. Who knows how it's going to shake out. But.
Yeah, you're not blowing a $99 fat budget on Steele or Samaje Perine.
I don't think so. No, not even 99 cents. Yeah.
I should make that an option though in the league. I should definitely make 99 cents in ability.
No, I don't want you breaking out envelopes of change to pay me at the end of season party now. Come on.
So
here's 99 pennies. Yeah.
Get outbid by someone by 1 penny. Nah.
By 1 penny. Yeah. Price is right action, right? The price is. I hate that person who bids like $366. And then the next person, 361. Like, you a-hole. Come on. Yeah. Oh, I cannot stand that. It's terrible. But another injury, but looks like not so bad. Joe Mixon, he did leave the game with an ankle injury, but he went on MRI today. But he says he feels okay. Probably a little swelling in the ankle, but it looks like he avoided serious injury. Tim, you heard anything?
He came back and played a little bit after that too.
Yeah, he did play a little bit. I mean, he came back to the field. He warmed up on the bike a little bit, and then he ran a few more plays. And but then he came out. So I don't, I'm sure it was bothering him. Could have been worse. I mean, when it happened, I definitely thought it was going to be. I didn't expect to see him come back out onto the field. So that was a good sign. But it's just unfortunate that the refs don't know a hip drop tackle when they see one. Since they made it a penalty, they outlawed it, but when it happens, they don't see it because it's it hasn't been called, and it happened a couple times this week. It happened to Jamar Chase, I think, as well. Or I didn't see that one actually, but that's what he said, and
it cost them 15 yards because he was yelling at the ref in that one.
Yeah, so
he was irate about that.
Yeah. Even after his teammates pulled him away, he went back at it.
I mean, how many guys have to get injured for them to actually enforce it? Like, why make it a rule if they don't even know?
Don't forget, with him, he's fighting for a contract right now. He was holding out trying to get a contract, so he sees that he's playing right now, and he's hoping for a contract. So if he gets hurt, that number drops. So of course he sees those dollar signs go away if he gets hurt.
Yeah, true.
Business there. Yep. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson again left the game with a thigh calf contusion, but seems to be okay, or quad contusion, so it seems to be fine. Cooper Kupp, big loss here. Out indefinitely with the ankle injury. We saw him twist that ankle underneath again. It wasn't that hip drop, but it was similar to that happened. And you kind of knew as soon as you started walking up the field and limping, you're like, oh, no, not again. So that was a bummer to see. Been placed on IR. So him and Puka, both their number 1, number 2 receivers are out indefinitely for next 4 weeks. Deebo Samuel out for a couple weeks with a calf strain. Right? So that's kind of a bummer. AJ Brown was kind of shocker, right? It was Friday or was it Sunday morning before the morning game reports where AJ Brown was ruled out for Monday Night Football. Seems like he suffered a weird hamstring injury, maybe during training, during practice. And so he was ruled out early Sunday morning, which is great for fantasy managers to see that and to be like, okay, that's good. I can sub him out and not have a CMC situation going into Monday night. But yeah, that
I think
was
they ruled him out earlier. I thought it was maybe
They
Friday
did.
or Saturday.
oh, the
I thought it was
even
a Friday
sooner.
evening.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that, but because yeah, I mean it was just complete opposite of the CMC situation, but
Yeah, Niners
Yeah.
learned something.
yeah,
Nah,
but
no thanks.
but
Pass.
yeah, these hamstring injuries though, or they just kind of pop up. I mean, Evan Ingram hurt his hamstring in pregame warmups, I guess, and was out for the Jags. So
Yeah.
Yep.
T. Higgins hurt his hamstring sometime the couple days before the Bengals season opener. So those are the peskiest because they they get aggravated in game. Like I'd rather have a guy dealing with the more concrete injury with like a specified timeline, but hamstrings are always like they'll just flare up and a guy might aggravate it in the first 5 minutes and then he's out the rest of the game. So those are the worst. So at least AJ Brown didn't try to play and have people starting him and then only getting a couple minutes out of him. So.
Yeah. Well, it's like these MCL sprains, right? It's interesting. Like Love suffered one, Ferguson suffered one last week. They have like a definitive timeline, right? 3 to 4 weeks where they're out. Like, okay, that at least they're definitive. You're right. The hamstrings can linger all year long. It's hard to get those back. So,
Unless you're Rome Odunze, who
out there.
didn't even miss a game. Did he really have an MCL sprain? Because
I
that
have
seems
no
crazy.
clue.
He didn't really look limited, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Taysom Hill, chest injury. I think he got some X-rays, but it seems to be okay. He flew home with the team, so he's back. And Evan Ingram, I said, Tim. So a lot of injuries this week, but again, Cooper Kupp, Pacheco, high draft capital on those players, and they're unfortunately gone for extended amount of time. So unfortunate. Hopefully, the managers who have those players can find solutions. Lots of guys in the waiver wire. If you're targeting, let's say a Cooper Kupp replacement, who's a big target for you guys right now?
That's on the waiver wire.
Waiver wire, yes.
I'd have to actually take a look at the waiver wire and see what's.
I mean, you could just go with. I mean, if you want to just replace him with the Rams receiver, I mean, there's Demarcus Robinson.
Okay, yep.
Tutu Atwell.
If you want to take a chance on Jordan Whittington, who's a rookie, who knows? Demarcus Robinson had some good games last year, though. But I mean, in our league, there's really not a whole lot that looks too great on the waiver wire. But it's, I mean,
you're a believer in Quentin Johnson. Him?
Yeah,
Quentin Johnson. After last week, 2 touchdowns.
I want to believe, but it was Carolina.
First round pedigree.
Yeah. See, last year's problem was the drops mostly, and he had some horrific drops. So if he can fix that, that's good enough for me at least to step in the right direction. But yeah, it was Carolina, so it's hard to take too much stock in that. And I think Palmer was hurt, but someone's got to emerge from that receiver room too. So maybe worth a dart throw. You can't replace Cooper Kupp, obviously, but
that production's not gonna. Yeah.
I mean, if Higgins is out, maybe you go Yoshivas. He got a touchdown.
Yoshivas, yeah. I was gonna say Yoshivas is someone some be targeting. Niners perspective, I have Deebo Samuel. Am I looking to replace, or if you're the Ayuk manager, hoping he steps up, but there's still going to be a gap there. That targets that Deebo would get are going to somebody. Juwan Jennings is probably going to be that person that people might target. Now, what's surprising is Brock is he leads yards as far as NFL quarterbacks on the season, which is kind of surprising. So there is yardage to be had there, from that perspective, from Brock Purdy. But Juwan Jennings, a lot of faith there, or you guys feel like it's a dart throw?
I would feel like he's a great guy who has great hands, but his run after the catch isn't really there. So, he's open in the intermediate area. You're really hoping for volume there. You're going to need him to get 7-8 catches in order for him to start reaching that 90, 100-yard mark. And usually he ends up being the guy they go to on third downs. He's kind of their Travis Kelce version where third down, Purdy looks at him. He'll get 12 yards when we need here and there. And so even with Deebo out, maybe you bump it up to 5-6, catches, but then you're still looking at he doesn't really do well running after he gets the ball, so you're still looking at 40-50 yards from him.
Yeah, He's looked good at times, but I think he's best known for his blocking. I mean, I think he's regarded as one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league. He's been with the Niners. How many years there? Probably 4 or
Quite a
5.
few, 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, he's shown he's had some games where he's just even with Debo and Ayuk out there, he's had just random games here where he's just drawn a lot of targets. So he can definitely catch, but he's just not
Explosive.
Yeah, he might get 5 or 6 points, and if that's all you're looking for, just a guy to get you a few more points. He's probably got a decent floor while Debo's out. So.
And then you're hoping for a touchdown, hoping, Ayuk is covered, Kittle's covered, and then as the third read, he goes to Jennings in the back corner, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, with McCaffrey out, it's definitely not that Mason's bad, but McCaffrey out, and then now Debo. There's definitely kind of a void there where someone's got to step up. So I don't know who else is there behind him. Pearsall's still he's on IR, I think, from the San Francisco special.
The gunshot wound. Yeah.
So, could be worth a chance. I mean, there's Gabe Davis, who's basically.
I was gonna say it doesn't throw Gabe Davis out there.
He catches.
If you want to roll those dice, go ahead.
Yeah, he's just a deep ball guy, really. So it's that's definitely a dart throw, but
coming from the guy who wanted no part of the Jags offense.
It seems weird. It seems really weird to have Keenan Allen be one of the last names brought up, but just I don't know. It's not looking good for the Bears offense right now. So maybe it's because he's out. Maybe him being out there would be better, but it's just not looking great.
What do you guys think about Jalen Tolbert? Right, that's the last name I throw out there as Dallas number 3 wide receiver behind Cooks and CD. Had a big game. Do you think that's a mirage due to the game script, or 6 receptions on 9 targets, pretty significant there? Do you think there's a worthy of a dart throw?
I did see that, but I didn't know the timing of the targets or anything.
Second half.
Yeah, and if Dak I think was pulled in the fourth quarter. I don't know who else might have been pulled. So that
CD wasn't in there, then
yeah. So that would be why I'd have to look into that a little bit more and see kind of what the situation was when he was being targeted that much, because I did see he got 9 targets and had 80 plus yards. So it's a step in the right direction, but I don't know. It's kind of I was hoping for more from the Dallas offense as a whole, having Dak that getting blown out like that. I hope that they would put up a little bit more points. So, but just he was just another kind of quarterback dud, and that whole offense really hasn't looked great yet. So,
yep, good deal. I'll stay away from running backs because right now, if you're needing a running back, you're getting someone second or third running back. There's no starting running backs out there on the waiver wire, so we will avoid that. But we'll talk about streaming quarterbacks for the week, right? Still quite a bit out there. Surprisingly, Joe Burrow's there, right? Ricky did end up dropping Joe Burrow. You got Justin Fields, Deshaun, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, number 1 quarterback on the season so far. So what do you guys think? Even Sam Darnold's still out there, right? Who would you target as far as the streaming quarterback for the week?
I mean, look at who's going to end up playing Washington. It looks like Joe Burrow. I would go right to him. This is the Jamar Chase get right game here.
I would probably, if I was streaming quarterbacks, it would just be who's playing Washington at this point. Yeah. I almost don't even care who it is. If Daniel Jones can be a top 10 quarterback against them, then I think anyone can. So, but yeah, that would be the easy one. And there's actually, there's a few good options though. Joe Burrow is probably the best, but you got Derek Carr against Philly, who, there's still suspect pass defense, and then Geno Smith. I forget who
Miami,
they're playing.
At home.
They're at my home against Miami.
Even in Kirk Cousins at home against KC, I don't know. Kirk Cousins maybe just got a little bit of
if I'd go that route.
boost. I don't know that I would either, but if he was the only, if it wasn't for some of the other options, it could be for some people out there the best. But he's maybe got a little confidence boost. But yeah, that's there's a few right there. Sam Darnold. I mean, it's hard to argue against it so far. Houston's defense is a little bit tougher than some of the other ones that we mentioned that they're going up against, but yeah.
On the road against Houston, if Sam Darnold puts up that projected of 14, I'll start being a believer in Sam Darnold in that offense. But if I got to take my chance on any one of those guys, I'm shocked that I'm doing this, but Derek Carr against that Philly defense, we talked about it. That secondary is just not good. And the way that offense is humming right now, Carr's playing with ultimate confidence, projected to get only 17 points on the week. That's probably a little over 200 yards, couple touchdowns. I 100% see that as a real possibility for Derek Carr. So, with Shaheed going to be able to open up the top with those long pass plays, and then underneath with Olave, and then you got a great weapon out of the backfield with Kamara to catch passes. Yeah, I don't see that as a real possibility for Derek Carr to have another top 10 finish for the week, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, and it's just on the other side, if he doesn't hit that, like if he doesn't hit that 50-yard Shaheed bomb, and if he doesn't throw a dump off to Kamara for another 50-yard touchdown, I mean that's most of his production last week. So, but against Philly's defense, they have a good defensive line, so maybe they can get to him. But if they don't, it's probably going to be another rough day for them. So,
yeah. And that game's at home in New Orleans, right? They play well there. That's the reason why I have faith. If it was on the road, probably different. Yeah. They played well in the Superdome. So, yeah, out of all those quarterbacks, I mean, Joe Burrow obviously is the one you're taking, but Joe Burrow is probably going to get a big fab number thrown his way by a couple people in our league who are really desperately looking for a quarterback this week to stream. So if I had to second tier it, it'd be Derek Carr for me. All right. So